Sound a server makes when the cooling system starts failing. It's not a beep or a click. It's this low whining noise that gets under your skin like equipment breaking down slowly. I heard that exact sound at 8:04 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, except it wasn't coming from any machine. It was coming from my career. My name is Jack Morrison. I'm 47 years old, and I want to tell you how I finally got what I was worth. I'm sitting in the break room at Southwest Supply Solutions, eating a ham sandwich and trying to ignore the Phoenix heat creeping through the windows. It's 118 degrees outside, which means our server room is running hot again. I've been telling management for months we need better cooling, but apparently that's not in the budget. I've been at this company for 14 years. Started right after I got out of the Air Force. Back then, Ray Hudson and I built this place from nothing. He handled the business side. I created Chainlink, the supply chain platform that runs everything. Every shipment, every inventory count, every delivery route that keeps our clients happy goes through code I wrote on a secondhand laptop. The diabetes medication kicked in about an hour ago, so my glucose levels are stable at 115. That's important when you're about to have your world turned upside down. Brady Walsh is sitting 2 tables over, showing something on his laptop to Tess Barrett from Help Desk. Brady's 28, junior systems architect, fresh out of ASU. Nice kid. Eager. Last month he asked me how to configure SSL certificates. This morning I accidentally saw his salary on that screen. $138,000 base salary. Junior level, I make a $119,000. After 14 years, after building the platform he was hired to maintain, after being on call every weekend for the past decade while he was in college, I checked my glucose meter. 127. Still normal range, but climbing. I didn't finish the sandwich, just walked straight to HR. Donna Pierce runs human resources. She's got motivational posters about teamwork and a coffee mug that says world's okayest boss. She looked up when I walked in and didn't seem surprised to see me. Donna, I need to talk about compensation. Of course, Jack. Have a seat. I stayed standing. Brady Walsh is making $138,000. I'm at $119,000. I built Chainlink. I maintain it. I've been here 14 years. She did that thing people do when they're about to give you bad news. Folded her hands, leaned back, sighed, like she was doing me a favor by explaining reality. Jack, to attract new talent, we have to stay competitive with market rates. You're on an established compensation track. Established track. Donna, I created the system that makes this company money. I understand your frustration, but internal equity and external acquisition are different budget lines. Different budget lines. Like I'm a line item instead of the guy who keeps their lights on. So adjust my budget line. Reflect my actual value. Another sigh. She picked up her pen, looked at her paperwork. We can't make changes outside the review cycle, especially not during the current freeze. Market conditions have shifted. Maybe you should consider consulting opportunities. Market conditions. Consulting opportunities. The corporate way of saying take it or leave. Okay, I said. Thanks for clarifying. The drive home that evening was quiet. No radio, just the AC fighting the desert heat and my mind turning over that phrase. Market conditions, she meant it to shut me down. What it actually did was give me permission to look for something I'd forgotten I had. I wasn't planning to go into the garage. Just ended up there, restless, checking my glucose levels again. 135. Stress was pushing it up. That's when I saw the box. Cardboard, duct tape shut, labeled in my own handwriting. Southwest Founding Docs, do not toss. Linda had told me to deal with it when we divorced 3 years ago. Never did. Just moved it from house to garage and forgot about it. I cut the tape with my utility knife. Inside were tax returns, a broken router, some old hard drives, and at the bottom, a blue binder. Southwest Supply Solutions Founding Partnership Agreement, 2010. I sat on my workbench and opened it. The legal language was thick, but I read contracts like I debug code. Look for the logic, follow the dependencies, find the condition that changes everything. Found it in Section 8.4, Intellectual Property and Residual Rights. In the event of voluntary separation by founding partner, barring termination for cause, license granted to company for use of core infrastructure defined in Appendix A reverts immediately to founding partner. Continued use without explicit consent constitutes willful infringement. Buyout must reflect fair market value at time of separation. I read it 3 times. Then I read it out loud to make sure I understood. Back in 2010, when Southwest was hemorrhaging money and Ray was sweating through every shirt he owned, he needed me to stay. Couldn't pay me more cash, so his lawyer uncle drafted this agreement. Southwest could use Chainlink as long as I worked there. If I left, they'd have to buy the rights or stop using it entirely. Ray thought he was buying time. What he actually did was hand me a loaded weapon and ask me to hold it for 14 years. I called Cal Rodriguez at 9:30 that night. Cal and I went to ASU together, back when we thought we'd change the world. He went to law school. I went into the Air Force. We stayed close because we both understood what it was like to have principles in a world that didn't always reward them. Cal, I need you to look at something. What kind of something? I took a photo of Section 8.4 and sent it to him. Hypothetical legal question. His phone rang 2 minutes later. Jack, tell me you have the original document. I'm holding it. This is a reversion clause. The moment you resign, their license to Chainlink terminates. If they keep using it, that's willful infringement. What's that worth? Give me tonight. I need to check something. He called back at midnight. His voice had that edge lawyers get when they find something interesting. Ray filed a patent on Chainlink in 2018, under his personal name, not the company's. Didn't notify you, didn't consult you. I was quiet for a long moment. 14 years of 3 a.m. calls when the system went down. 14 years of missing Mason's baseball games because the server's acting up. 14 years of keeping Ray's business running while he took credit for my work. There's more, Cal said. The refinancing they did in 2020, $3.2 million loan. They used Chainlink as primary collateral. So the bank is holding something that isn't theirs to hold. Correct, which means when we send the cease and desist, we're not just sending it to Ray. We're copying the bank. Do it. We worked at my kitchen table until 4 a.m. Cal had his laptop, I had the contract, and we both had the focus that comes with finding exactly the right tool for exactly the right job. By dawn, we had 3 documents ready: a resignation letter, a cease and desist citing Section 8.4, and a term sheet for IP acquisition, $1.8 million. Full transfer, Ray's patent voided, and a public statement acknowledging I built Chainlink. I resigned by email at 6 a.m., subject line, resignation effective immediately. Then I drove to the office. The thing about kill switches is they're not really switches, they're absence. Chainlink had a license verification protocol I'd built into the authentication layer back in 2011. Every 30 days it pinged a token renewal script that only I ran. Miss the renewal, system drops to emergency mode, 5 connections maximum. On a normal Tuesday, Chainlink handled 2,800 simultaneous connections. I hadn't renewed the token this month. I sat in my truck in the parking lot and watched the building lights come on. Ray's Mercedes pulled into his reserved spot at 7:22. At exactly 8 a.m., when Chainlink tried to verify its license and got nothing back, the system would start shutting down. My phone buzzed. Cal's email had been sent. Cease and desist to Ray to Southwest's legal department and to First National Bank regarding their $3.2 million loan collateralized with intellectual property they didn't actually own. At 8:04, my phone started ringing. Tess first. Jack, something's wrong with Chainlink. I'm getting connection errors. Then Brady, the system's not responding. Are you seeing this then, Donna? Jack, we need to speak immediately. Then Ray, 4 calls in 6 minutes. I let them all go to voicemail. At 8:30, Cal's phone rang. Southwest's lawyer, he let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. This is Warren from Southwest Legal. We have a situation here. Someone left documents on Ray's desk, and now our platform is down. We need to discuss walking this back immediately. Cal typed a response instead of calling. Read it to me before sending. Cease and desist stands. License reverted per Section 8.4 upon resignation. Term sheet attached. Buyout price $1.8 million. Price increases $50,000 for every hour system remains offline. I checked my glucose levels, 142. High, but manageable. At 9:15, Ray called again. This time I answered. What have you done? I resigned, Ray. As of 6 a.m., the license reverted per our 2010 agreement. You put a kill switch in my system. It's a standard license verification protocol. Been there since 2011, you would have known that if you'd read the codebase, turn it back on. We're losing money every minute. I know. That's why the term sheet has a timer on it. His voice changed. Panic shifted to calculation. Jack, come on. We built this together. What do you want? A raise? Fine. $140,000. Just get back in here. I looked at the building. Through the windows, I could see people moving fast, stress written in their body language. That offer was relevant yesterday. Now, this is an intellectual property acquisition. You can't be serious. You filed a patent on my code in 2018 under your personal name. You used my platform as bank collateral without telling me. And when I asked Donna for market adjustment, she told me to consider consulting opportunities. I paused. I considered them. I hung up. Patricia Hudson called it 10 to 47, Ray's wife, and the one who actually controls the money at Southwest. Mr. Morrison, I've reviewed the term sheet. Good. Ray mishandled this. I want you to know I understand that. Her voice was steady, professional. But 1.8 million is significant. It's less than 6 months of revenue from a platform I built and maintained for 14 years. And it's considerably less than what the bank is going to want to discuss. A pause. I could hear someone in the background, Ray, probably pacing and gesturing. What else is on your list? Ray's patent gets voided. Full transfer, not a license, and a public statement. Not an apology, just facts. The outage was caused by an IP licensing issue, and Chainlink was designed and built by me. Give me 2 hours. Cal and I moved to his office downtown. From his conference room window, we could see the Southwest building. Through my laptop, I could see the Chainlink status dashboard. Red bar, steady and unblinking. 47,000 failed connection attempts and counting. I thought about the trucks sitting at distribution centers in Nevada. The warehouse manifests in Texas that weren't loading. The Amazon regional hub that was about to start making calls about delayed shipments. And for a moment, just a moment, I felt the weight of it. Not guilt exactly. More like the feeling you get when you've made a decision you can't take back and you're waiting to find out if it was the right one. Then I thought about Mason's Little League Championship in 2019, a Saturday in May. I had promised I'd be there for the whole game. We were going to get ice cream after. At the third inning, a routing failure hit our main data center, and I spent 4 hours on the phone patching it while Ray was unreachable at some client golf event. Mason pitched a no-hitter without me there to see it. He was 14 years old and he pitched a no-hitter and saved me a piece of the celebration cake. Found it in my fridge 2 days later with a note. Dad, you missed a good one. Love, Mason. The doubt cleared out. I opened my laptop and pulled up the external monitoring dashboard for Chainlink. The email from Patricia arrived at 1:23 p.m. Attached was a transfer agreement. 1.8 million, Ray's personal patent voided and assigned to me, and a press release draft. Southwest Supply Solutions regrets the service interruption experienced this morning due to an administrative oversight in intellectual property licensing. We have reached resolution with founding technology partner Jack Morrison. Chainlink was designed and architected by Mr. Morrison, whose technical contributions form the foundation of our supply chain operations. It wasn't an apology, but it was the truth in print, which is what I had asked for. Cal verified the wire transfer was processing. I opened Terminal on my laptop, typed the license renewal command, hit enter. Chainlink accepted the token in under a second, ran system diagnostics, restored full connection capacity. On the dashboard, the red bar turned yellow, then green. Status operational, all services restored. Total downtime, 3 hours and 19 minutes. Cal poured 2 glasses from the bottle he kept in his conference room cabinet. We didn't say much. There wasn't much that needed saying. The wire cleared the next morning. First thing I did was set up college funds for Mason and Sophie. Full funding for both kids, state school or private, their choice. Then I paid off the house, no more mortgage payments. Then I bought a reliable truck that starts every time in the desert heat, which matters more than it sounds after 3 years with a vehicle that left me stranded twice. The fallout moved the way corporate fallout always does, slowly, then all at once. Ray kept his office and his title. Patricia brought in a COO from Dallas within a week, a restructuring specialist, and Ray's operational authority quietly transferred to her. He still shows up at industry conferences and talks about Southwest's robust infrastructure. Nobody corrects him anymore. It stopped mattering. Donna's still there. The salary freeze got lifted 2 weeks after I left. Across the board, 15% increase for all senior staff. Funny how budget appears when the alternative is worse. Brady quit 6 weeks later. Turns out maintaining a platform you don't understand is different from interviewing for one. The new senior architect they brought in is 52 years old, ex-IBM, and makes $165,000 base salary. Age and experience suddenly matter again. I drove up to Flagstaff 3 months later. Rented a cabin in the pines where the air is cool and you can see stars without the Phoenix light pollution. Mason and Sophie came with me for the weekend, my custody time. We hiked, played cards, talked about college plans that are now actually possible. Sophie's thinking about veterinary school. Mason wants to study computer science, maybe follow in the old man's footsteps. I told him he's got options now that he didn't have before, and options are what matter most. Sitting on the deck that Saturday evening, watching the kids build a campfire, Mason said, "Dad, I saw an article about that Southwest thing. It said you built their system. I didn't know that. I checked my glucose levels, 108. Perfect range. I did build it. Took me a while to make sure everyone knew that." Cool. So you basically shut down a whole company until they paid you what you were worth. Something like that. He nodded, understanding something about work and respect that I hope he never has to learn the hard way. But if he does, maybe he'll remember this conversation. The consulting offers started coming in about a month after the story broke. Supply chain companies, logistics firms, even a few government contracts. Word gets around fast in technical circles, especially when someone makes a public stand about professional competence. I took a contract with a shipping company in Tucson. 3 days a week, platform architecture review. Good work, good people, and they pay me $180 an hour because they know what expertise costs. The VA finally sorted out my disability rating too. Turns out 20 years of Air Force service counts for something, even if it took civilian success to get their attention. The extra $400 a month helps with the diabetes medication, which isn't getting any cheaper. Linda called last week. First time we'd talked since the divorce was finalized. She'd heard about Southwest, wanted to make sure the kids' college funds were secure. We talked for an hour, mostly about Mason and Sophie, but also about how different things might have been if I'd stood up for myself years earlier. "You always had it in you," she said. "I just didn't know if you'd ever use it." Maybe that's the real lesson here. Not the legal maneuvering, or the technical kill switch, or even the money. Maybe it's about knowing your worth and being willing to enforce it, even when that means walking away from 14 years of history. I deleted the Chainlink monitoring app from my phone 2 months ago. 14 years of watching that green status bar, making sure everything ran smooth, getting up at 2 a.m. when alerts came through. Now it's someone else's problem, someone else's responsibility. The new architect sends me questions sometimes. Professional courtesy, one engineer to another. I answer what I can, point him toward resources, give him the context he needs. No hard feelings there. The system's bigger than any one person's ego. But I don't work for free anymore. Consulting rate applies to everything, even friendly advice. That's not being petty. That's understanding that expertise has value, and value needs to be recognized. My blood sugar's been stable for months now. Stress will do that to your glucose levels, and I'm not carrying the same stress I used to. Sleeping better too. Turns out financial security and professional respect make decent medicine. I still drive past the Southwest building sometimes when I'm heading to the Tucson contract. The parking lot's always full, the lights are on. Business continues. Chainlink keeps running because it's good architecture. Built to last. I'm proud of that work even if it took a legal battle to get proper credit for it. The best part isn't the money, though the money changed everything. It's the respect. When I walk into client meetings now, people know my name before I introduce myself. They've heard about Chainlink, about Southwest, about what happens when you mess with someone who knows their worth. Last month I got a call from a startup in Denver. Young CEO, probably 30, had heard my story through the engineering network. His company was building supply chain software, needed someone who understood enterprise architecture. "Mr. Morrison, we'd like to bring you in as a technical advisor." "What's the rate?" We were thinking equity-based compensation, long-term upside. I stopped him right there. I don't work for equity anymore. My consulting rate is $200 an hour. Minimum 20-hour monthly retainer paid in advance. Silence on the other end. Then, that's higher than we budgeted. Then, you can't afford me. But when you're ready to pay for real expertise, call back. He called back 3 days later, full rate, full retainer, and a respect in his voice that wasn't there the first time. That's the difference. Not just the money, but what the money represents. When you charge what you're worth, people treat you like you're worth it. I've been working with a business attorney on intellectual property protection. Every contract now has bulletproof IP clauses. Every piece of code gets properly documented ownership. I learned that lesson once, won't need to learn it again. Mason graduated high school last month, full scholarship to ASU engineering program, but he's got the college fund backing him up for graduate school if he wants it. Different kind of security than I ever had. At his graduation party, one of his friends asked what I do for work. My dad's the guy who built Chainlink, Mason said. You know, that system that runs half the shipping in Arizona. He made Southwest pay him almost $2 million for it. Kid looked impressed. Mason looked proud. That's worth more than any settlement. Sophie's doing well too. Started working part-time at a veterinary clinic, saving money for college even though she doesn't need to. She's got that independence gene, wants to earn her way. I respect that, but she's got options if she needs them. The health situation's stabilized, blood pressure down, glucose levels consistent, sleep quality improved. Amazing what happens when you're not carrying the stress of being undervalued for 14 years. My doctor says I've added years to my life by reducing the chronic stress load. Linda and I have been talking more, not about getting back together, that ship sailed, but about co-parenting, about the kids' futures, about how things might have been different if I'd found my backbone sooner. You were always technically brilliant, she told me last week. You just needed to learn that brilliance without boundaries gets exploited. Boundaries. That's the word she used. Not anger, not revenge, not bitterness. Boundaries. I still get updates from Southwest through the industry network. The new senior architect is doing fine. Chainlink runs smooth, handles the load, processes the transactions. Good architecture lasts. Ray's still there, still has his title. But everyone knows Patricia runs the show now. The company's doing well financially. Better probably now that they're paying market rates for senior talent. Brady Walsh landed at a smaller company in Scottsdale. Systems administrator role, not architect level. Sometimes you need to match your position to your actual skills. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone starts somewhere. Cal Rodriguez made partner at his firm 6 months after our Southwest case. IP litigation is good business when you know how to handle it right. He sends me referrals now, other technical professionals who've been screwed over by their companies. I point them toward the right resources, help them understand their options. Some of them take action, some don't. That's their choice. But information is power, and every engineer should know what protections they have. The consulting work keeps me busy without owning me. 3 clients, all paying proper rates, all treating expertise with respect. I work from home most days, travel when necessary, set my own schedule. At 47, that's not early retirement, but it's close enough. Next month, I'm taking Mason and Sophie camping in Colorado. Real camping, tents, campfire, fishing, hiking. No cell service, no laptops, no system alerts, just family time and mountain air. We'll probably talk about college plans, career options, what it means to build something valuable, but mostly we'll just be together, which is what matters most. The old Jack Morrison would have been checking his phone every 10 minutes, worried about server uptime, ready to drop everything for some emergency that Ray couldn't handle himself. The new Jack Morrison turns the phone off and trusts other people to do their jobs. That's growth. That's what professional respect looks like. That's what happens when you stop accepting less than you're worth. People ask if I regret waiting so long to make my move. The answer's no. Everything happens when it's supposed to happen. I had to build enough value first, had to accumulate enough evidence, had to reach the point where enough was actually enough. But I also know that if I'd waited another year, another 5 years, the opportunity might have passed. Contracts expire, people retire, companies get sold. Timing matters in life just like it matters in engineering. The server room at Southwest probably sounds different now. New cooling system, better maintenance, proper temperature monitoring. The new architect knows what he's doing. That low whining noise I heard that Tuesday morning, the sound of something failing slowly, that's been fixed. Same as my career, same as my life. Sometimes you have to shut everything down, rebuild from the foundation up, and start fresh with better architecture. If you've spent years being the one who keeps everything running while someone else takes credit, if you've been told your experience doesn't match market conditions, if someone has looked you in the eye and suggested you consider consulting opportunities as a polite way of showing you the door, then you already know what this story is about. It's not about revenge, though justice feels good. It's not about the money, though financial security matters. It's about the moment you stop negotiating with people who were never negotiating in good faith. You built something. You know what it's worth. Make them say it out loud. Set your rate and stick to it. Document everything. Know your contracts. And remember, expertise that isn't respected isn't valued, and value that isn't recognized isn't compensated. Market rate, finally.